Cow Plunge.
4th grade challenge.
Diabetes Expo.
As a key sponsor of Mustangs baseball and Chiefs training camp, Heartland is the #1 fan for a healthy St. Joseph.
Welcome to St. Joseph's, everyone. Training Camp Live. Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, Josh Looney with you once again, presented by Heartland Health. That right there was the play that set the Twitter world abuzz yesterday. Mitch, you and I had a great view from up on the hill of it. It was the first time this training camp that I have seen personally Jamaal Charles be the Jamaal Charles of old. We saw the speed. We saw the moves in the open field. We saw him create space on that screen pass, and we saw it result in a touchdown. They've been careful with Jamaal early in this camp, but that right there, to me, was not just the on-field return, but that was the real Jamaal Charles. It pumped up Chiefs fans that were there. It pumped them up on Twitter. Of course,
me up.
Right here you can see that exclusive footage. An amazing play, Mitch, and we'll start with that and then get to something else you liked on the play.
Well, I tweeted out, this was Jamaal Charles. This was Jamaal went 2010. On this practice. Let's set it up. The offense had done nothing in the red zone up to this point.
You came up to the hill
Yes.
and said that was the worst red zone I had seen offensively because it was over 3. Like, just execution. They got down to the goal line and the defense would stop 3rd and 1. Just the finishing. That's what Romeo Crennel's been preaching. Brian Dable's been preaching. They were okay in there, but they just couldn't finish.
Right.
And you were a bit down, and then we see this stuff.
And the defense, though, the defense did an outstanding job during that time. You know, because the red zone has got to improve this year. The defense was great. DJ hit Jamaal Charles right in the zero gap and knocked him back, didn't let him into the end zone. So I did come over thinking, wow, it'd be nice if the offense did something. Let's go back and look at this play because I said it was Jamaal Charles doing 2010 on a 2003 play. Look at the blocking and the screen. Lilja gets outside on Derek Johnson. Rodney Hudson, 61, the center, gets 10 yards down the field to get to chips a guy and hit Stanford route. That turns an 8-yard gain into an 18-yard touchdown. Lilja was mobile enough to get to the outside, seal off the outside, allow Jamaal to do his thing, cut, lateral move, and then I saw Hudson just explode out of nowhere to get to the defensive back. If they can run that play, which has been a long time since that's been done that well, this team can go places, and it shows you the athleticism of the offensive line, and then Jamaal's got some mojo back.
Yeah, and when I say the worst, it was more the worst feeling. We've been waiting for that offense to do something in the red zone because it was a problem for them last year. It was an issue for the second and third groups. Matt Castle actually had a pretty good red zone set on the night practice, but all 3 groups were shut out in the first red zone series for first, second, and third. The defense had all the momentum. We saw Tom Holly with a sack, Alan Bailey with a sack. There was a 3rd and 1 play near the goal line. Derek Johnson scraped off a play and stuffed Jamaal Charles. So all of the momentum was with the defense. It's something the offense has heard that they've had to improve both externally and internally. So you think, okay, how are they going to rebound? They rebound with that play, Mitch, and sometimes that's all it takes because after that, we had a touchdown pass with Nate Eaches from Colgate with just a phenomenal grab in the end zone down the rail against the 2s. And then in the 3s, Jeremy Horn has a toe tap touchdown in the back of the end zone to end the practice. So this play right here, to me, also turned the tide for the offense. And maybe that's just what they needed to kickstart them in red zone play.
Yeah, you got to light the pilot light, and that lit it. But the mobility of the offensive linemen and Hudson just flying down the field, you can see it on the video. To see that happen, to know that can also be part of their playbook, just sets them up in the red zone because if they're proficient at that, that makes your passing game on the outside better if you do want to run, get the ball to Baldwin in a variety of ways. If they've got to respect that screen and Charles, remember I said in the red zone, you've got to defend all 53 yards of the width of the field because you lose the vertical game a lot. Well, part of it is running a screen. You can run a screen in the red zone, and if you run it that well, it just sets up everything else for you.
Now, this is a bit of a touchy subject with Chiefs fans, but it's a reality of the National Football League, Mitch. When players are getting older and there's that natural attrition, we saw it last year with Brian Waters and John Asamoah taking over for him. What did Brian Waters struggle with doing that they're asking him to do in the 2010 season? He was fine interior, and the way the Patriots used him, he was great last year for them. But the Chiefs wanted their linemen out and on the move. Brian could no longer get out there and do those types of things, and it really limited the Chiefs' offensive playbook. Casey Wiegmann, for as phenomenal as a career as he had, he was obviously at the later stages of his career. That's not a play to me that I think Casey can make at the stage of his career last season. That was speed, it was youth, it was fast. Those are things the Chiefs are going to ask Rodney Hudson to do as the center. Now, what Rodney can't do that Casey do is knowing the reads, the lines. Those are the calls. That's what Rodney's really working on. But athletically, I think that's a glimpse right there of something the Chiefs couldn't do last year with Casey in that spot.
Well, let's be honest. Wiegmann played 11 years without missing a snap. So we're all big Casey Wiegmann fans. But to see the mobility of the offensive line, now Rodney has got mobility with size. It's a little Will Shields-ish, okay? Because Will Shields, I think, was the best guard to ever play in this league because he could stone you in a play like this, but he could also pull and get to the outside or get downfields on screens. And when you've got linemen that can release and run and get to the second level, whether it's a run or a screen-type pass, man, oh man, it can be effective in this league. It
definitely can. There was also another highlight play. You and I have been talking about Kevin Boss and what he's brought to this team, how he looks so much better than we've expected, than Bernie Parmalee has expected in the receiving game. He had a ridiculous touchdown catch yesterday that we caught on film, and it was earlier in the practice, and Matt, it was basically looked like a throwback play, and Houston's face guarding all over. Look at that, the toe touch gets them both in. Houston begged and pleaded with the official. You can see there was the touchdown. He said, well, what do you mean? It was a flag. There was a flag. He threw the flag, but Boss didn't need the flag. He still caught the touchdown pass. And when you and I a few days ago were talking about two tight ends and Moyaki and Boss, those are the types of things we're talking about in the plays. We have seen Kevin Boss run the seam. We've seen him run the deep routes, and he's a big, tall target, and he just adds so much more to Matt Castle in this offense.
And he's smart, and he's tough. And he can line up on the outside shoulder of the tackle in the normal three-point stance with a normal tight end position, a Y position, if you will. He can line up in the slot. He can line up as flexed on the line of scrimmage. So can Moyaki. And so, as a result, if these two guys are healthy, it is a giant problem for Chiefs opponents, because they're going to have to get the right personnel grouping and have to respect the skills of these guys. But Kevin Boss has been a surprise, but we saw it back in the spring. Down the rail, deep plays like this, whether it's goes, just seam patterns, an out pattern like this. He can run posts, he can run flags. These two guys right here are a huge key to this season.
Let's run back one more time the Jamaal Charles play in case some of our viewers are a little late.
I can't see it enough.
You can't see it enough. This really was the first time.
But watch this. Okay, watch the play side has to block. Then Lilja's got to get out there. Then here comes Hudson. And you see Kendrick Lewis going, wait a minute, what's a 300-pound guy doing coming down here running that fast? But the play side has to be first, because they kind of showed a play pass, and you saw the right side of the offensive line hold correctly without penalty. And then the guys on the left side were able to pull and do their job.
That was it. It was classic Jamaal Charles. And, of course, a lot of people have questions on Matt Castle going into this season and want reports out of training camp about Matt Castle. Of the three quarterbacks, Matt, I think, visibly has been the more efficient day-to-day and practice-to-practice. In fact, I think Matt's had a very good camp so far, Mitch. I can't think of a time that really defenders have got their hands on the football other than that diving pick Javier Arenas had and maybe the first full padded practice. Matt's been very efficient with his play. He's been able to execute in the red zone, really the only quarterback who's had red zone success up until those final sets yesterday. And Jim Zorn talked about the vast improvement he's seeing in Matt Castle. And it's about execution to him and not just getting to that point, but then finishing off plays.
Where's Matt Castle right now from where he was a year ago?
Well, I think he's, from a year ago, dramatically improved just because we've been able to spend so much time together between all the OTAs, minicamp, and now. So I really feel that he's further along than he was last year, and he's really taken charge. So he's working on things right now that he wasn't working on last year at this time, you know, as far as the way he's attacking the line of scrimmage with his commands, you know, either changing things or keeping things on. Our tempo's so much better. So we've really improved a lot of things sooner than we did last year.
What's Matt's best attributes as a quarterback?
He's got many. I would say his command on the line of scrimmage, his ability to think in a difficult situation. He's done that very well. He's throwing the ball better. He's throwing with better ball speed, I think, with more accuracy. So I would even put those things, high on his in his little package that he's got going. And he just thinks things through. I think one thing that I like about him is he's been finishing drives as we start the different periods and the different executions and situations. He's been able to finish. And that's something that I thought was a little lacking last year, you know, where we'd get to that point where we make the right decision, but we couldn't execute the play. And now we're really starting to execute well. Remember, that's in practice.
What do you attribute that to?
Repetition. Repetition, classroom time, video, just spending time on real football stuff and working it. That's what
What's your assessment What's your assessment of his targets out there, Jonathan Baldwin and the others?
He's a great target. He's just got a wide range. You know, you don't have to be as accurate with John Baldwin, but what's been impressive is the younger guys have been under Nick Sirianni's tutelage, doing a great job with technique, with pass routes, explosion, coming off the line of scrimmage. We're having a lot more success earlier with young rookies than I think I've ever been around, and I just think it's due to those guys and their abilities to listen and then try to go out and execute what Nick has been teaching. It's been great, really.
Well, Jim Zorn gives his update on Matt Cassel, as well as a little Ricky Stanzi and Brady Quinn update. The two, quote, are duking it out, really fighting competition, and that's really what Mitch and I have been telling you throughout camp here, is that battle is going to work itself out in these preseason games. It's one of the reasons I am so excited to watch, especially the second half of these preseason games. You have a true quarterback battle going on for the two position. These guys are getting even reps throughout camp, but one day Ricky's with the twos, the next day it's Brady Quinn. But even when they're both with the twos, they're getting equal reps with the other guys with the threes. So it's not 20 reps for Stanzi with the twos and 5 reps for Quinn with the threes and vice versa. It's still even throughout. In fact, the only guy who's not getting many snaps this camp is Alex Tanney, but I do think he'll get a chance to show himself in the preseason as well, Mitch. But it's going to come down to games for these guys. They both had their moments of positives and negatives throughout camp, and I think what they're able to do in a game situation is really what Jim Zorn and what Coach Brian Dale are going to look forward to for Stanzi and Quinn. And really with Quinn, hasn't thrown a pass in the regular season game in 2 years. And Stanzi, they like Stanzi, but they haven't seen him perform in a game as well. So I think the games are very important for both of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, but they've been fair to those guys, and those two guys have been fair to this process and the system. They're working together. They're getting along. I think that says something about Jim Zorn. But they've been fair to these guys. Now, as you go into the preseason games, and I agree with you, I think those 4 preseason games are gigantic. But it all depends on where do you get the football? What's your field position? How many snaps did you get with the twos? What's the other team playing? Are you with our threes against their twos? I mean, you have to really kind of micro this down a little bit. But the reason I say that is this team is going to be fair to both of them. It's not like Ricky's going to be with the threes in all 4 of these games, or Brady will be with the threes in all 4 of these games, or backed up if it's his own 3 and you've got 2 series in the game and you get 2 that are backed up. It's not necessarily fair. Well, it's going to be fair because these guys, the way they've got it scripted and kind of planned out, at least what we've seen, is the fact that it should be a very, very equitable base of evaluation in the 4 preseason games for both of these guys.
Let me give you a snapshot of their relationship as well. You said they've been fair to this process between the two of them. I don't remember exactly what play it was. It was a touchdown pass, and I believe it was, and I can't remember which quarterback threw it, but I think it was a Markshausen caught the one over the middle on Tuesday night, and it was either Stanzi or Quinn threaded that ball to him. I believe it was Quinn that threw it, and Stanzi, whichever the quarterback who wasn't in, did a huge fist pump and came running out to celebrate with the other on the touchdown pass. And that shows you these guys are pulling for each other. When we interviewed Brady Quinn for this show and for your 53, he talked about how beneficial it is for Ricky to have a full off season, how he sees Ricky improving, and that's a great thing for Ricky and his development in this league. So it's pretty interesting. You've got guys that are close together. They're both fighting for each other's job. Really, in their eyes, they'd love to fight for Matt's job. That's the mentality that both of them carry too. I can't get enough of this. They're not pushing to be the backup. Mentally, they're trying to become starting quarterbacks. Now, that's not going to happen if Matt Castle is healthy and things go the way they should throughout this year. But that's the mentality you have to have. But they're also pulling for one another. I think it's a very good vibe here where you don't always get that in quarterback battles.
Well, let's be honest. Matt is helping these guys too. This is a pretty close-knit group of what I've been able to pick up. So again, that's due a lot to Jim Zorn and Brian Daboll, because that's kind of a vibe throughout this whole team. But let's be honest, not every NFL team does the starting quarterback embrace the guys behind them. Sometimes they can get a little weird with that. And again, it goes back to my point about security and all these guys. These guys are secure in who they are. They've got confidence in their abilities, and the team is being fair to them. So all that being said, it's been a great start for these three guys. And again, yes, they're all working to help each other be successful.
And we're going to see them go a little bit against some new faces starting in camp on Tuesday. For those of you, I see someone in our chat room here, Jared Garner's talking about the Cards coming in Monday. Keep in mind the Cards have a game Sunday night. They're going to be here Monday. They're not going to do anything with the Chiefs on Monday. It may even be their complete off day. They may just have a walkthrough, whatever.
Well, they're going to get in here in the wee hours.
Right. We're talking 3, 4 a.m., 5 a.m.
We've done that, Jude.
Right. So there's not going to be any work between the Chiefs and Cardinals on Monday. They're going to get together on Tuesday for a joint practice. That's Tuesday, August 7th. That's going to be the only day that they work together. And there's not going to be any tackling. There's not going to be a scrimmage. Now, it's still going to be, they're going to ramp it up a little bit in thud. There'll be one-on-ones. They'll have some inside run. It's going to be a great practice to watch. But keep that in mind for your planning purposes. You come out Monday, you're just going to see the Chiefs. You come out Tuesday, you're going to get to see the Chiefs and Cardinals together. And then Wednesday, they're going to be separate again. And I don't know what Ken Wisenhut's plans are. I had heard rumors that he may even have them indoors where their part of it is closed to the public anyway. The Chiefs will be outside on both Monday and Wednesday, open to the public. But if you're king that week, Tuesday, August 7th is the day you want to come if you want to see both teams against one another. So don't be disappointed if you come out on Monday. The Cardinals will be wiping the sleep out of their eyes in the training room and all that stuff. There will be nothing together on that Monday. Steve Bresson talked about the connection with Matt Castle, about comfort in this offense yesterday. He's a guy who's quietly, with all the John Baldwin talk, has put together a pretty good camp as well, Mitch.
And a former Cardinal.
And a former Cardinal. So let's hear from Steve Bresson.
Would you say confidence maybe is higher, though, and that maybe the depth looks a little better this year, more proven guys to step in if something like that comes up?
I think so. I think, a lot of people are very excited, just having a lot of people back from injury, especially EB, Tony, and, Jamal. Those guys, those are, very key pieces to our offense and defense. So, just having those guys back and, put them in within the game plan and the type of playmakers they are, you're excited about that, but the one thing you have to do, even with these guys back, you got to go out and execute, and that's the thing we've been doing all off season, just building that foundation.
Well, Mitch, there was a 38-year-old when we switched directions here in camp yesterday, and he looked like he could line up and put on a helmet if they needed him to, and it tied into the two tight end sets we're talking about, and the Chiefs and their history of two tight ends. We talked about it the other day. Really, with the two receiving threats they have in Boston Moyaki, the Chiefs have had that type of connection never. But they have had a good complement of one another between Tony Gonzalez and Jason Dunn. Jason Dunn, not the pass catcher, but that massive blocker and lead antagonizer of Gonzalez. Two very good friends, and I think that's what Chiefs fans would say. Hopefully, these two will be more remembered, maybe, but Gonzalez Dunn 8 seasons together. To Chiefs fans, that sticks up as the Chiefs tight end duo that's most memorable. Well, Jason Dunn made a surprise visit to practice yesterday, and he's still big, he's still massive, and I caught up with him. It's pretty interesting. He ran into Romeo Crennel this offseason. Jason Dunn's now coaching some high schoolers out in Kentucky, and Romeo said, "Jason, come on out to Chiefs camp, and we'll let you take things in." So here's Jason Dunn catching up with a name from the past, as a lot of tight ends are being talked about here in Chiefs camp. Well, when everybody sees this guy, they think he's probably still playing, but Chiefs fans remember him with Tony Gonzalez. Jason Dunn at camp, man. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing real well.
Well, you got the visiting coach badge. Tell us what you're doing up here in St. Joe.
Yeah, you know what? The coaching bug caught me, and I've been coaching football back home in Kentucky, and I've been enjoying it. So I decided to come up here, get a little bit more knowledge, see how the coaches around here do it. And I tell you what, it's work, but I like it. I enjoy it. Watching the guys, develop, going out there, and it's a little. Thinking about it, just being yelled at for all them years, and then I'm the guy that's yelling at the guys now. So it's a little different, though. It's a little different.
How did you reach out to Romeo? How did the whole thing start to get you up here?
Well, I seen Coach Romeo. He was in Kentucky for the NFL Hall of Fame, Kentucky NFL Hall of Fame. That he's a member of, and seen him there, and it was just kind of talking to him a little bit, and told him that I'd love to come out here and just see what how they do things, how they structure everything. And he was just like, you know what, give me a call or something like that, Jason. I'd love to have you. And I think it's a testament to him as far as getting guys out here, and he understood that I wanted to just at least develop my knowledge as far as with the game, as far as with coaching wise. So it's a little bit different than playing with coaching. You got to be a little bit more key, a little bit more structure on the things that you're doing. But that's pretty much how it happened.
Which high school are you at, and when did you start? Is this your first year going into it?
No, this will be my third year. It's Lafayette High School in Lexington, Kentucky. So it's a 6A school, good ball. So, like I said, we got some good guys out there and some young guys trying to develop them. And, we got some guys, potentially in a few years you might see them up on this level. So that's what I'm trying to help on their development to get, to this level if they want to.
Your life after football, how's it been? And you keep following the Chiefs, and what's your involvement been?
Well, I tell you what, I've been following the Chiefs, been kind of catching all around the league. I'm a football guy. I'm a football fan, so I've been watching everybody, watching all these teams play. Man, I've just been watching some good football being played for the past few years. But that's about it, man. Just doing that, taking care of the kids at home, and then just trying to stay busy. And I tell you what, being out of the game, my body's starting to feel right now. And sometimes, get out here, you start feeling the energy in the air and smelling the grass. You start thinking like, man, you know what? I kind of miss it a little bit. But I tell you what, these hot summers, man, is something else. But I tell you what, I've enjoyed my time since I've been here.
Well, he's still Big Mitch. If he had the knees, if they didn't go out on him, I think he might still have a job in this league. He's essentially an offensive tackle. And you and I were talking while that video was going on, and the amount of blockers that team had with Jason playing off the butt at times of Willie Rove, who will be going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend. Just an incredible offensive line and complimentary offensive lineman that team had.
Will Shields will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If not, I'm going to file a grievance. You had Wegman, who played at a Pro Bowl level, John Tate, a first-round draft pick. I think it was one of the top 5 offensive lines in the history of the NFL. But then it wasn't even fair when you put Jason Dunn in there, who's basically, as you mentioned, a tackle playing tight end, and then Tony Richardson leading the way for, there were times Priest Holmes had nobody in front of him and just kind of waltzed into the end zone. It was, that group was interesting the way they ran the football. But again, they got to the perimeter. That's why the play that we showed earlier with Rodney Hudson was so cool. I'm not saying this line is there yet, but you know what? They got the ability to do some of the things that line and Jason Dunn did.
Yeah, Willie Rove's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this week. And those guys ate well, because between Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, and Derek Blaylock and Trent Green, there were a lot of linemen dinners bought for those men, and that included a lot of times Richardson and Dunn were included in those O-line dinners. LJ, Priest, Trent, and Blaylock took good care of the guys that were blocking in front of them, and that was weekly visits, sometimes twice a week from those guys. They ate well, and they did deserve it. A guy who, may I say, maybe starting on the brink, if he can keep things up, of a Hall of Fame career, at least Chiefs fans hope so, would be Tamba Hali. Probably the quietest sack master in the AFC. Most people outside Kansas City, if you ask who's led the AFC in back-to-back years in sacks, they wouldn't be able to tell you it's Tamba Hali. But Tamba Hali, actually, Terrell Suggs took over Tamba Hali last year, just barely.
Right at the end.
Just right at the end. So first and second. But becoming consistent year in and year out, one of the best pass rushers in the AFC. If Tamba can string together another 6-7 seasons like this, and there's no sign that his motor's stopping, kind of like Derek Thomas did, I think he one day could be in that discussion as well if he can keep up what he's done the last 2 or 3 years here in Kansas City. Tamba spoke yesterday, and when Tamba speaks...
And let me say this, too. He's done a little differently than Derek Thomas, because he's playing the outside linebacker in a 3-4. He's got a lot more responsibilities then and you know, DT struggled with getting those responsibilities. Tamba's getting this down. So to me, it makes it even more impressive.
And if he can prolong that career and do what he's doing for another 5-6 years and be right up there in the AFC in sacks, I think he's right in the equation to be a phenomenal career and one that hopefully will be in Kansas City throughout his tenure. He's already signed to a long-term deal just last year, so he's going to be the pass rusher, the featured pass rusher for this team for many years to come. He's taken on quite a leadership role here in St. Joe. When he talks, which isn't much, his teammates listen. More importantly, when he plays, they watch. Tamba spoke to the media yesterday, and you can get in the mind of this guy, very soft-spoken, very mature, and it makes me think that his best years are still yet to come.
Tamba, how does it feel to be the veteran in this group?
It feels good. A lot of pressure. Still a lot of pressure, you know. Got to come out here and perform and show leadership. But it feels good. I mean, I'm getting old.
Do you feel old?
Body feels old, but every time we touch the field, we feel young again. I mean, once we're walking off, we feel old, but we get on the field, we feel young again.
Like how old, Tamba? Put a number on it.
Well, let's say if I'm going into 7, so we times that by 3, I'm 28, we're looking at 49-year-old.
How do you think Don Terry Poe's been coming along? You get actually opportunity to see him probably a lot.
Yeah, Poe's playing well. He's a big guy. He clogs the middle. I mean, I can't really speak too much about players, but you know, from what I see on film, he's going to be a good player in this league.
How much better can you realistically be with Justin Houston pass rushing on the opposite side of you?
I don't really want to talk about our players.
Just the defense as a whole, with more players pass rushing.
Our defense right now, we're looking good. We come out here, we're contagious. One person make a play, another guy want to make a play. So as a whole, we're very confident about what we're doing. Can we speak about the team?
What are the goals?
The goals are we got to win. We got to win the AFC West. I mean, that's our primary goal. Once we get into the dance, and then we have another goal from there. But right now, it's a game at a time, and we want to be 1-0 after every week, and that's the focus. The guys are not worried about the next game. We're worried about the one game at a time, and try to win this AFC West. As you guys know, we have a real tough division this year. A lot of top quarterbacks and a lot of good pass rushers in our leagues, in our conference. So it's going to be tough this year, but we got to work through it.
Tamba, a lot of people have said that you're the type of leader who leads by example. Talk about how you do that, what kind of example you set, and what do you do in the locker room to set that?
Well, I think we're all leaders. I try not to be too much of a vocal leader. I get tired talking. So my thing is come out, work hard, and whatever the coach says, do it. Do it like you love it, even if you don't. But that's one way of leading, and I think that's how I go about my work. I come out here and I try to exhaust myself and work, and that way guys look at it and say, that guy worked, maybe we should work harder too.
Very mature Tamba Hali there, Mitch, and it's incredible. A lot of folks say, well, he kind of looks tired. He looks mentally beat down. There's one thing you got to know about Tamba, and I think it was told by Thomas Jones in the top 100 players. This guy, he leaves everything on the field. That's the way he looks after every day of practice. After every game he plays, he's the first one out there. He's one of the last to leave. He's moving faster than everyone in walkthrough practices. This guy puts everything into every single practice. That's why back when Herm Edwards drafted him, I remember a high motor guy. Coach speak, right? No, he really is a high motor guy, and you see that, and sure, he's tired after every practice, but he chooses his words wisely, and he's a great leader for this football team.
And he's in his 7th year, and he hasn't slowed down a bit. The other thing when you come out to practice to watch is the work that he does with Master Kim, with Joe Kim, and we kid about it, but it's all the, Karate Kid stuff. He works at it all the time. Now, Joe Kim works with, guys on this team a lot, but his star pupil would be Tamba Hali, because Tamba just continues to work at move and counter move in his hands and trying to win those battles to get to the quarterback. But the other thing I think that's appreciated about Tamba is the fact that I've seen him improve in the other areas of being an outside linebacker. He's not going to cover you down the field a lot, but you just have so many responsibilities, he and Justin Houston at that slot, that it's a lot to take in and a lot to think about and a lot to deal with on the field. But he has really improved in that area.
Well, he's played defensive end or outside linebacker. Tamba Hali has led this team in sacks every year since his rookie year except for one, and that was in 2007 when Jared Allen led the entire NFL in sacks. In fact, Tamba Hali out-sacked Allen as a rookie. Most people don't remember that. So Tamba has been doing it in a lot of different spots, and obviously now he's getting more national respect for what he does game in, game out, week in,
and let me say this, his sack numbers, we'll see how it goes, but the more attention he gets, there's other cats coming. Because for Justin Houston, Alan Bailey, all the guys we've talked about. So it's not just Tamba against the world anymore. And he will have to be accounted for. But now all of a sudden, if you have to single block him or can't double him all the time, maybe his numbers shoot through the roof.
We're running out of time here on another Training Camp Live. We want to end with something we kicked off this past Wednesday. Mitch Holthus and I were at the St. Joe Hy-Vee for the first stop of the Chiefs' 50 years in Kansas City celebration tour. Now, the next stop is August 28th. It's in Topeka, Kansas at a Hy-Vee there. Check the listings. It's on KCChiefs.com. KCChiefs50.com has a ton of details. I encourage you guys to come out. We'll be in Wichita. We'll be in Springfield. We'll be in Kansas City before this caravan is done. Mitch, you talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of fans. We'll see a story here in a minute of a lady who has quite a story that she brought with her involving Lynn Dawson, but a pretty cool kickoff. I know you and I had a blast on our off day here in St. Joe.
Well, I love the St. Joe Hy-Vee. You know, I'm going to visit every Hy-Vee salad bar before I pass this world, and I'm at like 30-some. Right now, St. Joe Hy-Vee's #1 salad bar.
He's not. You think sometimes he just like pumps Hy-Vee. Literally at Hy-Vee, he went and sought out their store manager. This is the best salad bar I've seen. I've been to this many Hy-Vees.
Yeah.
Like that.
It
was an
Brad's
impressive spread. It was definitely. It was Brad, right?
It was Brad.
Brad McAnulty, I believe his name.
McAnally or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great civic leader in St. Joe. This was this was a great way to start these caravans. And Lenny Dawson was there. And tonight, Lenny Dawson, gives me chills to talk about it, will get the Pete Rozelle Award at Canton, Ohio for excellence in broadcasting. He's only the third human to be able to be in the Hall of Fame as a player and to get this award. Dan Deerdorf, Frank Gifford, and our guy Lenny Dawson.
Pretty awesome. You'll see plenty of Lenny here interacting with fans. Check out KCChiefs50.com for details on the 50 years in Kansas City tour and where we will be next. We'll end with what happened in St. Joe on Wednesday, and we'll come back to you tomorrow right here on KCChiefs.com. Hey Chiefs fans, welcome to the Hy-Vee right here in St. Joseph, Missouri. We're in the middle of training camp, but we're taking a day off here in St. Joe for the first stop in our celebration tour, celebrating 50 years in Kansas City. Bobby Bell's here, Lynn Dawson's here, the Super Bowl trophy is here, and there's a lot of great stories from Chiefs fans. One in particular stood out today. 44 years ago, a young lady had her picture taken with Lynn Dawson in a meat packing plant. She's held on to this photo for 44 years, waiting to run into Lenny and have him sign it. The St. Joe native was right here, and we got that interaction with Lynn Dawson. It's incredible to watch. Take a look.
Oh, hey now. Oh, no.
That's me.
That's you?
That's him. Yep.
Wait a minute. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You serious? No way. Oh, say smile.
Oh, no. No.
That was actually at the grand reopening of the new Arrowhead.
Okay.
I was walking around there when they had the open house, and Bobby Bell was up there, and I recognized him and walked up, introduced myself, and got a picture, so pretty proud of that one.
Dawson, thank you so much, sir. It's an honor to meet you.
Now, we want you to be part of our celebration tour. We are going all through the footprint of the Chiefs Kingdom. This is just our first stop. Go to KCChiefs50.com for all of our great initiatives for 50 years here in Kansas City. It's a celebration this year. Future tour stops, if you want to join us, we'll be in Topeka, Kansas, August 28th at the Hy-Vee, September 28th at the Cleaver Family YMCA right in Kansas City. That's Alumni Weekend, so there'll be a lot of Chiefs greats on hand. We'll be in Wichita at the YMCA on October 3rd and in Springfield, Missouri at the Hy-Vee on October 10th. We'll see you there. 50 years in Kansas City.
65
Cow Pledge.
4th grade challenge.
Diabetes Expo.
As a key sponsor of Mustangs baseball and Chiefs training camp, Heartland is the #1 fan for a healthy St. Joseph.